December 20th. We'll call it to order. Have a roll call, please. 9:10.
Barry,
Here.
Steve,
Here.
Brad,
Here.
Corey,
Here.
Shanda is absent, David.
Okay, we'll move into approval of minutes for the November 15th meeting. I will entertain a motion for approval when you're ready.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or deletion in the minutes? Discussion. Roll call vote.
Barry,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Okay, financials.
Good morning. Yeah, all the financial information is in your packet. The last page there kind of gives you a breakdown of just our oil revenues and our camping revenues. Like I said, oil, it's turned around quite a bit, pretty much doubled or, increased dramatically what we've got in the last couple years. Not quite to where we were in 2019, but getting close. Otherwise, unless you have specific questions, I don't have much else on the financials.
Okay, any questions for Jeremy on the financials? Okay, move on to new business.
First item, or the item under new business is cultural study for the Lake Loop Trail at Blacktail Dam. The RTP, the federal grant we got, they got a notice back that the State Historical Society wanted us to do a cultural study. We've talked to the State Historical Society and the State Parks grant people, and we know everything we have to do. So there are firms. There's multiple firms in Bismarck. We identified three. Lindsay and I identified three firms out of Bismarck that are capable to do this. So we're gonna get pricing right away, find out what it's gonna cost, and get moving forward. We can't spend any of the. We can't work on this project at all and reimburse any of it for the grant until after this study's done, and they're not going to be able to do it until spring. But we want to make sure that we have it, someone lined up, ready to go, so as soon as the snow's gone, they can go and do it. Talking to them, that they've never been really a cultural study done at Blacktail, and they just, because it's an area where water is and people go there throughout time, water's there, so people got to be there. So they wanted to use it as an opportunity to take a look. So we also asked, how often does this cause a project not to happen? And they said rarely, if ever, especially in a place like that that's already so developed. But it's a hoop we have to jump through.
Does the trail following existing ATV trails out there already?
I would a little bit, but not a lot. Maybe just like one path kind of through that first area when you leave the campground and kind of headed towards the beach. You know what I'm talking about? Where all the that hill where everything is. There is one part of that it goes through, but otherwise, everything else is more around just following the road, just adding on either the outside or the inside of the current main road, to just adding an outside. There are some other things. We're gonna have to put a couple of bridges in there or figure out a way to get over some of those ravines. But we've kind of known that all along. But no, I mean, just that little section just past the campground there, that would be where current ATV trails are. Yeah, so our goal is to, like I said, get that, and we won't wait to bid out the project. Oh yeah, there's the map. So the yellow trail on those pictures, that yellow path around, is the path that we would build. That very southeast part there, that's the one part where there's ATV trails right now. where we would kind of go through that part there. So we'd have to, as we designed, we'd have to make sure make sure this trail is non-motorized, so we have to make sure we find a way to keep people off it and keep people safe, signage and fencing and whatever else needed. Real quick on this map, the yellow is the Lake Loop Trail. The green is the dam owned by Game and Fish, right there already, and then the orange is the trail to the beach that we got a grant through for Garrison Diversion. Lindsay and I took Corey's suggestion to heart and really liked the idea of going through those trees. I think that's a good idea. Actually, those trees were originally looked like they were planted in rows, and it wouldn't be real hard to go through the middle of that and make a nice trail, and maybe in the middle of it put a little punch out with a bench or something. I don't know. But that's kind of our preliminary idea. The other line colors in there, the pink are trails that, accessory trails that Candace had in the master plan. And then that blue one up there in the golf course is one that wasn't in the master plan, but just something that as I've been going through, like, why don't we have an alternative? Just an idea I had. The main thing we're working on for next summer is the yellow and the orange. That'd be the part that we're doing. And you can see, I guess, I put in all those things are all the crossing signs are where we might have to potentially cross a road. And then all the bridges are where there's some ravines that we're gonna have to figure out a way to get across those ravines. The pink part are trails that Candace has in, that she had put in there as alternative, like just accessory routes through different trails she had in the master plan, but not anything we applied for the grants, just extra trails that we could add in. Some of them have different reasons. I mean, I know that like the pink ones to the south there, those two, eventually the plan for that was that's the area where there was a disc golf course. And so those trails kind of work with the design of that course. And then the ones up top, up to the northwest there, where that pink is, that's where they had put in those cabins. And so that's kind of going around in that area just to kind of put that in there. But both things that I think would be built as we develop those other amenities.
Just a dumb question. Non-motorized bikes are allowed on this?
Yep.
Okay.
Bicycles, yep. I mean, I don't know about e-bikes. I guess we can make that decision as.
Gotta let them in there.
Yeah. But yeah, non-motorized trail. We don't, we want to make sure we still provide an area and place for ATVs and dirt bikes to go, because they've been out there and using that for a long time. We don't want to take them away, but we want to have a non-motorized trail too. I think one of the biggest selling points to this trail is just the transportation of especially younger people safely. Like I said, our main beach, just to get around, and not just younger people, everybody. You go out there in the morning, people are running and walking that lap all summer long, and just have their own trail would be nice.
Yeah. With that in mind, there's tree rows that you're utilizing as pathways and so on. What's our plan, or do you have a plan for replacing trees that have died?
Yeah, we right now our big plan with trees is a little more focused on Little Egypt, but in 2024 when we do our big construction, we'll be putting in trees all over at Blacktail too. That's part of our plan is to replace trees. It's budgeted in, I guess I wouldn't say budgeted, but the master plan that Candace has, there's definitely a tree budget in there. And we know we're gonna have to replace them and add them depending on, whether that's a trail or whether that's a trailhead or a bench or whatever. And
In general?
yeah, in general,
Golf course
right.
area that trees have gone down?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for the Lake Loop Trail?
And I guess just so our plan is that we will kind of give you an idea in our January meeting of our proposal for bidding out the trail, and then I think we had it so we would approve whoever our contractor is in the March meeting. That was our timeline, and then that would give them time to work with them and schedule it out to get this project done in 2023. So more information to come in January.
Okay, discussion items.
Potential park shop, I talked to, actually, Craig called me back this morning. He'll have that appraisal done this week. He thought it was gonna be, probably a little closer to what we thought when Corey, Keith, and I went through than what the asking price was. But he didn't want to give me a number yet till he was done, but he said he'd have it done this week. So we'll wait and see.
Okay, full-time position.
We currently have we were budgeted for a full-time position in 2020, a second full-time position beyond me for next year. We've got that advertised right now. We're looking at doing, we'll keep it open until after the 1st, and then after the 1st, we'll start contacting people and doing interviews.
Okay, anything else? Parks update.
First, starting with Blacktail snow removal. I first want to thank David Truckner. David Truckner has kind of been my eyes and ears on the ground up there and helping us get through everything. We did take a little bit of time to get everything cleared, but everybody has. I wouldn't even say everything's cleared yet, but everybody has. I was out there again yesterday, and I mean, the wind blows, and you can still get around though. I feel good that a EMS vehicle could get around if they had to. I have been in touch also. I also stay in touch with the principal or principal of Grenora High School, because one of our concerns is to make sure kids get to school. So just staying in touch with him as far as he knows that, hey, whether or not we have school or not, and if we have school, do we make sure kids can get around? Everything worked fine with that this week. Did talk to one of the things I did talk to that Bo mentioned that I don't know why I didn't think of clear earlier, was that idea that if there's someone else, a private contractor in that area doing work, in its event like we had just had, right, like where it's a lot of snow right now, and is that something that I just go for and just say, hey, this contractor is up there doing work, he's going to go and do a lap around Blacktail, it's going to cost us X dollars. What kind of Bo kind of wanted me kind of question, where do we want to go with that? Is that something where, hey, that's $1,000, let's just go do it, or whatever it may be, to do a lap? Just wondering where your guys' opinion is. I don't want to. It kind of stirs up a bottle there. I know the parks own the road, and we don't own a lot of roads, but the county owns a lot of roads. And so just that idea of where that priority comes is, how soon do we just say, oh, we don't wait for someone, we just pay someone to go do it? Yeah. And right, the problem is there's not as much someone to run it like 9 to 5, right, or 7 to 3 or whatever. That's where our issue is. At nights or weekends or something, we can get it done with someone out there. And right now, I've also had Carter, who's working part-time for me. Carter's gone out there and worked on it too. But like this time, didn't want to really send him out there on Thursday last week, or Friday when not even advised to travel and can't even really get out of town. So I don't know, just something. I said, we do have that loader. I think we got through fine this time. We did okay. But just wondering about that idea of, if there's someone up there that's a contractor that I know is there, that, hey, I'm right here, I can run through. What do we want to do with that?
I think the only thing you're gonna run into, Jeremy, and probably speaking from experience more, is when everybody walks out, because they need just this little spot plowed since you're here already, and the guy in that blade or loader's probably gonna be a nice guy, because it might be a guy like Barry that says, yeah, that's fine. And now all of a sudden we get billed for 12 hours instead of the hour and a half that you were thinking about. And it happens.
Yep.
They can't get their driveway open, right, Brad? You got one. And you're not afraid to walk. You're not afraid to walk out and knock on the blade door and ask. So
Right.
that'd be my only worry.
Well, and that's, when in discussion with Jeremy, my thought was, it's like, we need emergency access to that loop. So it's literally, if there's a contractor called, it's like, if they're in that area, you make the loop, and, I mean, unfortunately, if somebody knocks on the door, they're gonna have to hand that guy some $100 bills then, because that's, I mean, we need to be in charge of the main stuff and take care of the rest.
But like I said, we got through though. It's not like we didn't get through. I think everything worked.
I guess I told him to pose it to the board. I mean, that, my thought is if it takes somebody an hour and a half, 2 hours to make that loop, do we really need to argue over $400 or whatever it is to make sure that if we need emergency service or a bus, you know, just have Jeremy get somebody that's in the area, do it, and we pay for it. But
I don't think there's ever probably been an issue with emergency services. If there is, there's usually a blade or something in front of that ambulance or fire truck, whatever is going, I guess. The only concern I would have is liability issues.
How do you figure that somebody's in the area? Do you just like take and guess at it, or?
Well, no, I know, but there's a lot of people that live up at Blacktail that just know what's going on up there too, and who's working. And you know, David has been an excellent resource. for
Truckner
me.
stuck around those 3 days, and he knew what was going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And he had his hands on the blade, so that I'm just trying to figure out where we fell short or could fall short.
Right.
If it's a bad storm, he's not going anywhere.
Right, and I'll tell you what, I will say that, you know, like I said, David was really helpful being the point man, just being up there and being my eyes and ears and helping, making sure I knew where we were at. Like I said, and we got through good, as long as we can communicate. Just, like I said, just thinking about those events like we have had, that all of a sudden if we just get a bunch of snow and we're stuck.
Where does the township blade sit? Is it in our building?
Mm-mm.
Whose blade was Truckner using?
There's a private contractor up there. Sure could have been. That's because they couldn't get the guy out of town that runs the blade, and he probably just found it.
It was Friday night at 8 o'clock.
So what do you think, Bo? Do we just make you want a motion to say, authorize Jeremy just to make sure it's taken care of, and if we've got to spend a few dollars, he can come to us after the fact and get it approved?
I don't know, do we need that motion, Karen, or can Jeremy just authorize, or tell somebody to go blade the road?
I would suggest you make a motion so that Jerry has that authority, so he's got something backing up.
Okay, is there such a motion?
I'll make it a motion. Do we, just like we said, just get it taken care of to make sure they can get in and out, and if it's bad.
Yep, yeah, right.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? I mean, just as a point of information, I mean, Dennis has that list of approved contractors, so I would get that list from him. And okay, any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Steve,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Okay, anything else for Blacktail?
Oh, and just that, you know, the other thing, David and I also were, you know, stayed in touch with Dennis as well, so Dennis knows what's going on. Otherwise, that's it for Blacktail. Moving on, Epping. Been working a little bit with Aaron from Game and Fish about Epping and the water quality, and actually kind of did a little research, reading through our old minutes and finding things. And this isn't a new issue. Talking to Aaron, you know, it's also it's a big watershed. The Springbrook Creek goes a long way, and so potential runoff from the land is could be for a lot of landowners for kind of a ways. But Aaron's concern, and Aaron has mixed reviews on the sonic buoys that we were looking at. His concern is, you know, trying to fix the lake with that and not trying to do anything to stop what is causing the problem. So Lindsay and I kind of brainstormed a little bit on that, and we think maybe the route to go is to start by determining the watershed, what areas are there, who are the landowners, and then start educating. Maybe send out like a one-page survey, simple questions. Are you like, these are some of the major causes of this that causes this at the lake. Is there some way that you can make improvements, or is there some way we can help you make improvements? Something along those lines, and just try to get the idea of, hey, let's start moving this lake in the other direction as far as water quality, and through education, and see what we can do. Just keep working on it with, just going to keep working on that with Game and Fish and with water resources. So, but like I said, looking back, it's something. It's not a new thing. It's something that and as Aaron said, it can happen at any lake in like northwest North Dakota out here. Any of those dams that are fed like that. If all of a sudden, someone puts a lot of cattle on one spot nearby, you could get a bloom. You could get an algae bloom there. It's just that Epping's got a big watershed. So, going to try to work on education, educate the landowners, and see what we can do. Little Egypt, we were able to get all of the trees cut down to make, our goal was all those Russian olives that are just at the edges of the sites. We were able to cut down all the trees so we can make every one of those sites pull through. And then we don't, Parks doesn't have a high flow bobcat. So one day the county highway ran down with theirs, and they went through with a stump grinder and grinded out all our stumps. And then when they're able to, they're going to haul us some gravel so we can make every one of those sites pull through, which was our plan for the year. So we're gravel away from having that done. Little Egypt looks good. A lot of people are using it for ice fishing access. I was out there yesterday. I think I counted eight permanent houses out right from Little Egypt, and I saw yesterday in the afternoon, and there were 4 trucks with trailers with their side-by-sides that had gone out from there too. So that access is getting used. It's a little dicey to get through right now. It's not so much the access itself, but just getting down there. Not so much getting down. I just think it would be hard to get out. I just walked it. I got close and walked down. But people are using the ice access, so that's good. Lookout Park, in line with our master plan, it calls for us to finish those sidewalks and other little things at that park, along with we're gonna fix that pickleball court. So that's gonna be a project for 2023. Somewhere along that same timeline, as far as bidding out the trails at Blacktail, we'll this spring get after everything, so it's all bid out, all assigned to a contractor, and move forward. I'll skip McGregor because we got the boys here from Game and Fish, but Coda Ray, I was informed that the valve at the bottom of the dam at Coda Ray isn't functioning properly. It's closed, it's not leaking, but it's not able to open it properly. A purpose of that valve is the big thing is to some of that water, some of that bacteria, some everything that sits on the bottom of the lake, you can kind of flush that out. There is also it's also used for downstream for water for cattle. There's a landowner there that he has water rights, and sometimes it's just more convenient to put it on the bottom because it goes right through the creek there. And it's good practice to open it. So they usually open it once a year to let some water run through for him. And then that's that good practice of making sure that valve works properly. This year, going through to open it, they found out that it was not working properly. I've contacted Water Resources, and they have dam safety. They have a dam safety department of Water Resources. Let them know what's going on, and going to just follow their lead as far as getting that fixed. You have to do some jumping jacks or something, the motion sensors. So I just got word of that yesterday and talked to Water Resources yesterday. So I'll have more information on that next week. In general, all our parks as far as getting in and out of are snowy. You know, we're not going through and plowing to make sure you can get into the campsites, but we are working to go make sure you can get into where they're the usable areas for now. For example, Epping Springbrook has a gate that's after the boat landing and where you go for fishing and or to get on the ice for ice fishing. So right now we just have that gate closed because it's a lot of snow back there. If someone get back there, a good chance they're going to get stuck. Like I said, Little Egypt, if you're coming into the Y of the road, the left, you have no way. There's no way of getting through that now. We got 3-4 feet of snow. You're not even trying, but you can go around. Like I said, you can go around and get to the right and get through. Coda Rays will be fully open today. I got Carter down there working on both Coda Ray first, and then he's gonna go down and clean up Little Egypt a little bit. Blacktail we talked about. McGregor on the north side is rough, and on the south side, once you even get past the first entryway, I mean, it'd be tough to go ice fishing at McGregor right now if you didn't have weren't real confident in your vehicle to get you there. But we'll get there. And is that all of the parks? Oh, I think so. So as far as the snow event, we'll before the weekend, everything will be cleaned up and be able to use any of the amenities at the parks. McGregor, you guys, we'll let these guys have the stage.
Good morning again. Kent Lutschwager with the Game and Fish Department. The Game and Fish Department, you know, our focus is, you know, hunting and fishing habitat on our wildlife management areas and then fisheries access and whatnot. And when we have amenities like this, we always have a second party agreement, such as the park board. So that's how, or why we're here for McGregor, I guess, or anything we can answer. We do own the dam at Blacktail Dam, the 40 acres actually, but about 8 of it is above water, 10 of it's above water. So it's the structure itself, emergency spillway on the north, and a little bit on the south side. The Blacktail, or the loop that he's talking about, the hiking trail, that's kind of stuff we divert to State Water Commission, make sure we can have people up there hiking around, you know, what's safe for the integrity of the dam. We don't do a lot at Blacktail. There's a little bit of leafy spurge up there every once in a while. But like say 6 or 8 acres is above land there, or above water. McGregor is one of our wildlife management areas that we have the lease with Williams County, and they are to the agreement, you know, take care of the O&M, the developments, the vault toilets, put docks in, stuff like that. And we don't. It's just stuff with 400 lakes. We just don't do. We're a very small agency, so we always have another party do that. By and large, working very well. Some issues with McGregor is the State Water Commission does the dam inspection, and it's because of the residents downstream. There's concerns there that the integrity of the dam, all that kind of stuff. So they're probably always looking at that. One of the other mistakes that the Game and Fish apparently made, or somebody made before, I've been here a long time, but there was a bunch of pine trees planted in the emergency spillway in the northeast corner of McGregor Dam. And we have been advised that they need to come out of that emergency spillway. But they kind of tell us we need to do it, but don't. It's a recommendation, I guess. So anyways, but then if we're gonna have to redo the entire dam, we're kind of waiting for that leadership to tell us what they exactly want to do with McGregor Dam.
Did they ever say what the defects were, or
Just that
is
if
it just
water
the
gets
trees?
up and goes through there, it needs to go through unimpeded.
Well, no, I get obviously the trees, but the dam itself, the wall itself, did they ever say what kind of deficiencies there was, or
I think it's engineers that like to engineer for 1,000-year events and make big structures. I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
The-
I could speak to it a little bit, Kent. So Jerry Weigel is our fisheries person that's kind of in charge of our dams for our agency and kind of coordinates with Water Commission. And so Jerry indicated that it's a high-risk dam, more because of McGregor being just downstream, and that's part of it. But he has said as far as like the integrity of the dam, it's not something that's a big concern right now to the department. They did recently do an inspection, and I don't know if they've given a report yet, though, right? The Water Commission?
Right, we attended the dam inspection, and Jeremy, you sent your guy there, the young man there, and so pretty cool robot. They dropped it into the chute, the water control chute, and ran it up with taking pictures and all that kind of stuff, and the integrity of the spillway, the pipe is in, I don't know if we've seen the report, but we were there, and it was in very good shape. There's no corrosion, there's no concrete breaking down, anything like that. The only other thing on McGregor Dam is there was a significant pipeline breach in the very southwest corner of the property. It was actually an oil line, and it was right during all the melt of the snow, the big blizzards of spring. So it was April-ish. April. And so I get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, this is not going well. And then Todd and Aaron were the first ones on site, and Todd was very helpful about getting the oil companies in there to try to get rid of all that snow that had to melt and then run down into the creek. And I didn't have any pictures, but we were literally inches from contaminating McGregor Dam. Oil company put a lot of time and effort and resources into really getting that stopped, but because all that water was melting, and then it kept raining, and the mud that they were playing in was not a lot of fun. But we were inches from a natural resource perspective, a pretty significant catastrophe. So they did a really good job. We've been through the reclamation, the fence is back up. We do have they put up some monitoring wells to monitor water qualities to make sure that there's no hydrocarbons getting into the lake, and we have two of the monitoring of the 5 monitoring wells around Game and Fish property in that corner. So the Game and Fish, being a special fund industry, we spent a lot of time and effort going up there, and I've talked to the oil company, and they might help if we want to take out some oil trees, or some of the trees, and they'd be willing to do that. The other thing too is I don't know anything about a tree spade, but can some of those trees be salvaged and moved to some of the campsites or something like that?
Well, you're talking about on the spillway?
Yeah.
Well, we had, a couple of years ago, that was the first time we were told of the issues with the dam, and we'd mentioned that when Jerry was running the parks then, and well, we'd mentioned that, well, we could pluck them trees out and go put them somewhere else around McGregor, and they didn't think much of the idea of digging holes in the spillway.
That's the issue. I mean, again, I'm not gonna say this is how we're gonna move the trees. We need to refer to their engineering staff, but I don't know if we have to cut them, grind them, pluck them, move them. I don't know. And then if there's such thing as redo the whole dam, well, you just include that in the cost, but that gets into millions, so. We're just kind of at a position of, I wouldn't say stop and wait, but kind of there's a little bit of that. Then the other thing too about Blacktail and Coda Ray is we have the Game and Fish contracted with the State Water Commission, contracted an individual contractor to write kind of emergency action plans. And there's supposed to be a tabletop exercise done every 5 years. And that emergency emergency operation plan to be updated. Who's the numbers for the sheriffs, who lives downstream, some landowners, and then a tabletop exercise done. And we visited a little bit. And we should probably do that one of these days, type of thing. And but everybody's got enough meetings and snow to move and other emergencies that it's really not, high priority. But
You have something, Beth?
Yes, Mike Smith is supposed to be updating those and doing the tabletop plan, but I think with everything that's been going on, he's a little bit behind. And then he just got a new assistant, so he's still a little bit behind.
So am I. I haven't caught up yet either. So, but yeah. So anyway, so that's kind of it with McGregor. I know pretty aggressive plans. The Game and Fish is you know, our property there, you know, what our goals and objectives aren't necessarily, you know, high development. There's people that like to have a quiet campground. And, you know, with some amenities. The other thing is kind of our funding thing, but, you know, the Game and Fish, we get our funds, and then that's why we always have a different entity. We have to approve projects that are done, but we don't have the financial ability to cost share playgrounds. You know, access, vault toilets, boat ramps, fishing docks, yep, playgrounds, you know, that kind of electrical, that kind of stuff that we always have a different entity. And so,
Just one other thing, now that we're all here together, is there any way we could lift the camping Tuesday, or
Yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday,
Tuesday,
Thursday?
Wednesday restriction was put in place because of two things. Locals that pulled their campers out there early and left them out there most of the summer, and then we would get calls. We went out to McGregor to go camping, and all the campsites are full and nobody's in them. We went through that, and then obviously the oil thing when we had a lot of people living on our properties everywhere. That's obviously gone away. The issue with Tuesday, Wednesday, and working with our warden staff is being a camp cop isn't necessarily real high priority for them, so we needed something that was simple, black and white, and enforceable. And we asked our wardens come up with something, because our restrictions are 10 days. And we had people, they'd move from one campsite to the next, or our wardens would say, you've been out here 10 days. No, I was here 9 days and I left and I came home and I'm just right back in the exact same spot. You know, and played those games, and so we needed something that was simple and effective and everyone could understand. We're certainly open to any suggestions that would work, but it's gotta be workable for our enforcement.
Right, well, I mean, I'm, you're correct on on the problems or where it was, but our Parks Department has come, you know, leaps and bounds since then, and I, not to speak for Jeremy, but I think we could handle the ins and outs and the limits, you know, the lengths of stays and whatnot, if you would let us
Yeah,
do that, but.
We restrict 10 days, no more than 10 days, and so if we can meet that and be, you know, because we'll get a lot of the calls. We did on last time, you know, that this camping is not working out for those of other people, you know, type of thing. And so we're certainly open to, I mean, we don't like it either, you know, type of thing. However, there are some benefits that we have found, and one is that's when they go, and I don't know about Williams County, but I know Burke County, that's when they go do their weed spraying and their mowing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays because nobody's there. Otherwise, you're constantly mowing around somebody and hitting their Tonka truck while you're, you know, shoots out the side of the mower or whatever. But, so, I mean, there are some benefits. It's certainly not the best answer, but it was something that we came up with that has worked. And so we're always willing to listen to anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as our ability, I feel better about next year managing the campground at McGregor than we have any time up till this point. The entire time that I've worked here, Nathan Zoker, the teacher out of Tioga, has been our guy that has worked up there. His son just turned 18 this last year, and he's going to school in Minot State. But at the end of the school year, or at the end of the summer last year, he started working with me. And having both of them there, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it gives me, and they're both on board to even take up a bigger load of not only just being at McGregor, but also maybe helping mow at some of the other parks and do other things. So in terms of like our management of McGregor, I feel better about it next year than, you know, I feel really good about it. Not that it was bad before, but I just feel like we're sitting in a really good position. I know, like, ideally, we'd like to have a camp host, and, oh, man, I just don't know. I haven't been able to find anybody even closely interested into sniffing that idea of being up and you know, and living there every night to be the camp host. I mean, I'll keep working on it, but that'd be the ultimate, you know, way to say, hey, you know what, we're good. We got someone that's just gonna be on site, you know, pretty much 7 days a week to make sure that they, you know, people are in and out. But I mean, I would like to have those days open to go camping too. But we'll keep plugging away, I guess.
We're certainly open.
I was just gonna say too, so as the district supervisor in Bismarck, and we have entities similar to you guys, and Sweetbriar Dam, and there's some other real popular areas, and so we had similar approach there as well, where we relied on the entity, the county park board, to take over that role and be responsible to make sure that, you know, it was policed and make sure that folks aren't staying there longer. And so that's what I would say is if it's something that you guys feel comfortable with moving into that role, you know, then that's makes us feel a lot more comfortable as well, because just Kent and small staff there and enforcement, it's just not going to rise to the priority, and then everybody suffers. So, but something to consider.
Well, I think we'll leave that up to Jeremy to visit with you guys and either come up with a solution, and he can bring it to us. So, thanks, guys.
One other quick question for you guys. So Kent has shared with me like the long-term planning for McGregor Dam, and initially it was really aggressive, like a little frisbee golf and a lot of stuff that isn't necessarily consistent with the wildlife management area. But I get it from your guys' standpoint from a park. It makes sense, right? You want to attract people if the fishing isn't good or whatever it might be. And so something unique about McGregor Dam is when we purchased that property, we didn't buy it with federal money, which oftentimes we have some cost share, and then there's a lot of restrictions to it. This one's a little different in the fact that we did use state money. So the option is there to sell that land. We wouldn't necessarily be interested in selling the property, but if we would be interested, we would consider like land swaps, or if you guys had other property within the county that you'd be want to swap with us. If that's something that you'd even want to consider, that's something we can do further discussions on. And we would still continue to manage the fishery, cost share on boat ramps, any of that stuff. So it's something that I thought I'd just bring forth to you guys just to think about and to consider.
Anything else that we can answer, or try to answer?
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, unless there's any other park updates, we'll visit about the next meeting.
Just one other thing I quick wanted to say. I was contacted by Joe Barsh from Williston Parks and Rec. They are looking for someplace to host the 2025 North Dakota Recreation and Parks Association Conference. And he just asked if we'd be interested in partnering with him to bring that here. Typically, it brings probably between 100 and 130 people into town for 3 nights. The 2024 conference is in Watford City, so I don't know if we're going to be the first one on the list to do it, to bring it out west 2 years in a row. But, and I think our involvement really would just be my time, you know, at least for the next couple years in planning. But I told them I'd bring it to you guys, see you guys are, as long as you guys are okay, if we kind of co-sponsor that event. We'd obviously work with the CVB. It'd be us and Parks and Rec and the CVB working to bring that conference here. Sorry I didn't have on the agenda something I had in my notes that I want to make sure to mention and at this point, all they're doing is they're not even looking for an application. They're just looking for anyone that's interested to just kind of put their name in the hat, and anyone in the state that does, then they're going to reach back out to us after the first of the year and start working through where they would place that event.
What time of the year?
It's typically in September, usually about like the second week of September.
Anybody
We
else?
hosted it. We did host it here in Williston. Williston Parks and Rec hosted it. I would say about 8 years ago was the last time, and then before that, it was more like Corey might know better than me. Before I was here, before I lived in Williston,
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
long time. Yeah,
I think it sounds like a good thing to be involved with. I mean, it can't hurt anything. Yeah, it's great to get them. Anytime we can bring people from the other side of the state out here, let's get after it, I think.
and like I said, I don't think there's really any expense, anything. It's just my time to plan that.
Okay,
Okay, I don't need a motion or anything. I just want to kind of keep you guys updated.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Is there any ice fishing derbies planned?
Right now, yep, we're gonna do our ice fishing derby at Coteray on the second weekend of February is our initial date. I think it's probably about the 11th or 12th. And then, and then we also have a backup date planned right after that. We will be putting out our press release and everything really shortly. We kind of just finalized that date, but working with the Wilson United Sportsmen to get that done.
Okay. Next meeting, January 17th.
Yep.
So unless anybody else has anything, I guess we will